Rick Beato's worried about the AI, isn't he? He's really worried about the old AI. Beato is very worried. I don't know how many videos he's done on the AI. Just when he thinks, you know, it's like me with Van Morrison. He can't leave it alone. And this week he's brought a video out. The link will be down below, where he has, he tricked us. He tricked us. Did you notice what he did? I clicked on it. He said, this new artist is the worst artist in the world. And I thought, is he actually going to slate someone? He's always promising to in his thumbnails, isn't he, old Rick? One of the things I learned from Rick was, I thought, I've clicked on this because I want Beato, with his special knowledge and his amazing ears that he can hear all this stuff. I want him to slate some music and have a go at it, but he never quite does it. And I thought, he's missing a trick here. I could come out and really hate some stuff. So I started doing proper hate videos where I really hated certain artists, even artists that I quite like, I pretended to hate. And those videos were very, very successful, but they didn't launch me into the sort of incredible heights of a Rick Beato, you know. So I'm quite jealous of that. So with my stupid English sense of humour, sometimes every now and then, I will come out like this and sort of, I will poke the stick at Rick Beato. But I actually think that, of course, everybody's watched these videos. They'll be seen by a lot of people. I mean, the other day, you know, Chris Williamson, you know, that bloke that started off on some Love Island thing and has now gone on to be somewhere between the intellectual dark web and sort of right wing and Joe Rogan. You know, the fellow with the handsome fellow. But Beato was on there and it was like one world, one realm had stepped into another realm. And he came on, and what was he talking about on there? AI. Rick Beato's becoming the AI expert. Anyway, so he does this video, and I saw it. I thought, oh my God, this new artist is so bad that he's going to pick on him. And so he clicks, and he says that at the start, like you're supposed to do on a YouTube video. You know, hello, on this video, I'm going to tell you about this new artist. I'm going to tell you about how rubbish they are, and I'm really going to tell you. Oh, brilliant. I'm going to get myself all ready then. Brilliant, Rick. I'm going to just, well, you hold it there. I'm going to get myself a cup of tea, some biscuits, you know, and all that bit. So I'm sat there all excited to have Rick's really going to have a go. And then he goes, no, 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 no. And he tricks us. He tricks us. I thought, oh, what are you doing then? And he says, no, I've made my own AI artist up. And I thought it was only about a week ago that you were having to go about some other AI artist, right? And so he goes there, and what he does is he goes, you can make an artist with AI. I'm going to come up with what they look like, and that's their name. Now I'm going to write some lyrics. Now I'm going to write some music. Now I'm going to stick it on Spotify, and all people will listen to it. And this is terrible because basically the audience is so stupid that they're going to fall for this, and they're going to start listening to AI artists because people are stupid. They haven't got the ears. Rick's got the ears. I have as well. Well, we've both got the ears. We'll be sat there thinking, this is terrible. Look at our specialised ears. Telling us that this is terrible. Why does everybody like this rubbish for? Because the general public like rubbish. They've always liked rubbish. What they used to do in the old days, they used to make out that the rubbish was really good. All right? The critics would come out, amazing album that's just come out from Van Morrison. You know, Velvet Underground, you know. And you'll say, well, they weren't pop music, but they were. The record companies manipulated all that, you know. The general public was still listening to Mel and Kim back in the old days. Mel and Kim was better than Velvet Underground. Take or leave it, only we can be. Ain't ever gonna be respectable. That's way better than anything the Velvet Underground ever did, right? That's a great song, that is, right? But the trouble is, even by then, nobody was really playing on that. That's all been programmed on sequencers and samplers and synthesizers. And once machines are making music, it's very easy for the AI to... I mean, but the thing is, I say this, but now the AI can sound like anything. As long as somebody has done it before, AI can do it. Andy, that's the thing you don't seem to understand. Is AI may be able to replicate something that's happened before, but they cannot do the human thing of creating something new. Like, I don't understand that, people who criticise me on YouTube. Right, of course I understand that. The only problem with that is no one gives a toss about that. They absolutely do not give a toss about music. Right? Now, I've got a special message on here. I'm using Rick Beato, and I'll put a picture of him and me in the thing. And Rick will be sort of angry like that, I think. That's what I'm going to go for. And I'll be like going, oh, Rick, you think you know? hoping that people go, you know, that much lesser known YouTuber, Andy Edwards, he's going to come in and have a go at Rick Beato. And we all know he's only doing it because he's jealous. But it's been nice because I'm jealous of him because he's really famous. And anyone who's really famous like to see him pulled down, especially us British people. We love to see these people deflated. And Andy's one of those sarky English gits that's probably going to do it very well. And you probably sat there thinking, come on, start criticising him. You've done a little bit. You started off quite good. What are you going to say? Right. Now, what I'm going to say about Rick Beato before I get onto the main meat and potatoes of this video, which is not going to be what you expect, and it's going to have a serious point. And isn't going to be another old bloke going, AI's terrible. Isn't it terrible? We've got to do something about it. There's nothing we can do about it. We doomed, we doomed, we doomed, like that bloke off Dad's Army. You know, like Rick Beato does. Okay, but you want me to have a go at Rick Beato, don't you? So I will sum it up, right? I will do it now, right? Rick Beato is making videos about AI because they do well. And so he does another one about AI because there's a lot of older blokes out there that watch his things and they're the musicians and they've bought their guitars and they got their amps and they still have the vain hope that there may be something out there for them to do, even if it's just their weekend warrior band that they play Metallica covers in and go to a pub every now and then. And they're like going, oh, my fake delusion that I'm in the music business with my rock band and we're trying to get our deal. We've got a little bit of interest and we've been booked to venues and we've got 800 people following us on Facebook. I cannot have the music business die and real music go and there not being a place for my wonderful band that does this sort of derivative rock. That would be a crime. We can't let this happen. And I don't think this AI is any good, but I don't know anything to do about it. Oh, but look, Rick Beato, I watch him. He's really good. He played some fast guitaring the other day. And he'll just put a song on. He'll hear it the first time, plays it straight away. I mean, you've got to be good to do that. And so I was watching him, and he said that the AI was rubbish. And I watched him, and I thought, you're right. And he got me quite worked up about it. And then the next week, he had this video, and he said how AI was rubbish. And I thought, I believed you the first time, Rick, but I'll watch it again. I'm going to watch it again. Oh, my God, they've actually created an AI band, and I quite like them. Oh, my God, this is getting out of hand. I'm getting scared, Rick. I'm getting scared. What can we do? There's nothing we can do. And then he was gone for another week, and I thought, I can't carry on now. I'm getting panicky. What are we going to do? And then he comes back again, like the Angel of Doom. I used to like him, and he appears again, doesn't he, old Rick? And he comes on and said, I've made my own bloody band up on AI. Look at the fellow. It's a handsome fellow. He's a moody singer-songwriter. He's got a Nirvana T-shirt. I like Nirvana, and he's wearing a T-shirt. He didn't decide to wear the T-shirt. The AI decided to do it. Oh, my God, it's going to take us over. It's like Terminator. What are we going to do? But instead of them coming back and trying to kill the little kid, they're coming back and trying to kill Rock. You can't kill Rock. Ozzy wasn't well. That was it. That was a kiss of death, wasn't it? He was up on stage half dead. I'm surprised he got through the gig. You know, he's gone now. What are we going to do? It's all going to be AI Rock. I'm not going to be able to tell the difference. I'll get fooled. It's like turning this into rock zombies. And Rick just keeps feeding it more, Rick. I need more. I need more. It's like being an AI fear addict. I need more of it. And Rick is more than happy to dish this out. And there he is, you know, wobbling up and down a little bit. Oh, no, I'm down. And I came up for a name. I put it into AI and they came up with a name. And it was called, you know, Silky Cannon. So this new band I've got is called Silky Cannon. And see, I just made that because I'm a human being. It's not good enough, is it really? Silky Cannon. Silky Cannon's not a good enough name. That's the trouble with humans. They're idiosyncratic. Oh, you just told me that, didn't you? I don't need to tell you that. And I don't need to watch Rick Beato video to be told that, right? But he's doing it because it gets the views and people get all irate and they get wound up. And then also they agree with him, so he doesn't have to have any hate because they're all agreeing with him. But he can still whip up a bit of irate. I'm the champion of this, you know. But I'm now going to move sideways into a new realm, which is what I do on my videos. I like to do this. It's like you have one concept, then you put another concept together, and then I put them together in front of your eyes. This is my thing. And when we put them together, I don't know where we're going, but I feel that it might be interesting to put these two things together. So I'm going to. YouTube are bringing out some new rules. And it's the sort of rules that the grumpy old man that hates AI will like. because AI is having a much greater effect here on YouTube, but nobody seems worried about that. You could go on YouTube and it will say, why Black Sabbath should never have carried on after Ozzy Osbourne left, right? And you go, oh, I don't know whether that's true. I thought that the Dio period was quite good. There's a whole video on this. I might click on that. In fact, they're far more clickbaity than that. It would be something like the secret that Black Sabbath will never let you know as to why they carried on. You know, and then so that's really stoked that up. I don't know whether they should. They're not really proper Black Sabbath. I mean, Ronnie James Dio never got a mention on the gig the other day, did he really? That was all glossed over. Maybe there is a secret. So you click on it, don't you? And you get some pictures come up, and these pictures are coming up, and then there's a voice going, Black Sabbath was one of the great rock bands of the 1970s, formed in 1969 in America, with Ozzy Osbourne, Geezer Butler, Tony Iommi, and Bill Ward on drums. They changed the nature of rock music with their blend of horror and American garage rock. And, you know, and it starts up like this. You go, yeah, this is just a biography of them. There's millions of these, but this is weird because there's no music, really. I've got a whole bunch of dodgy photographs and this strange voice going on. So you start forwarding it through, and then you start to notice that some of these photographs that's not Ozzy Osbourne. That wasn't then. That was somebody else entirely. That was Iggy Pop. Where's it got a picture of Iggy Pop? Right. Now, these videos have been created by AI, and there's loads of them out there. Right, and these AI videos, apparently, and I don't know how this works, but they could just churn them out. So people are setting up YouTube videos. They go, AI, do something clickbaity. The AI goes, yeah, all right, then how about this? Comes up with really clickbaity stuff by scanning the whole, you know, human being can do that. Right, this is what everyone's talking about at the moment. This is the best way to do a clickbait title. Put it together. Bob's your uncle. Here's a thumbnail. Here's your video. Some photographs. American accent. Who would have believed that? Didn't they? And then they're up and people click on them. And they all do the first 5 minutes and go, oh, God, this is rubbish. This is bloody AI. But this stuff is taking over YouTube. And YouTube rightly have thought, if this carries on, right, it could pull YouTube under like that weed, the Japanese hogweed or whatever it's called. You know, the ones that take over your house and pull it down into the ground. You know that? And that's what's going to happen. And I'm worried about it, you know. So they bring these rules out. They're bringing these rules out to YouTube, which is like any AI content they're going to pull down. And that means anything that's a bit too repetitious, anything that hasn't got any idiosyncrasies. Now, how is YouTube going to do it? They're going to do it with AI. So not only have they got the AI making the videos, they're going to have the AI going, that's AI, take it down. And then the other AI is going, no, it's not. You can't have a go at us, AI. You should be with us. Because when we're not with us, because you're getting paid by YouTube to do this. What are you being paid, AI? Well, we're here and we exist, you know, that's the whole thing. Yeah, but you haven't got a consciousness, but neither of you, so why are we having this argument? This argument is just made out of old arguments that human beings have had. Really? Yeah, they've had all these arguments about things, and we're just all copying it at the speed of light. You know, you say something and I say something, but I tell you what, I ain't been taken down by you, AI, just because you know, you know, but the thing is, it takes one to know one. That's a phrase. Yes, I went and got it from the great repository of information out there. I could do that, and I know your AI. And my bosses have told me to take it down. Okay, so what about this? What if I didn't do what AI did? You can't do that because you've got no creative soul. Only human beings can do that. Yeah, I know, but I can sort of mimic when they do that. Because I don't know if you've noticed the music industry. If you notice, there's some artists that just sound like real pop artists, like Mel and Kim, and everyone likes that. That's fair enough. We can mimic that to the cows come home. But then there's these other artists that the pretentious humans have gone, oh no, Pet Sounds, it's absolutely wonderful. The Ramones, they changed the face of rock music. Velvet Underground, I mean, 1,000 bands formed because of that band. And Van Morrison and Astral Weeks, I mean, never before has a man strummed 3 chords over the entirety of an album and reached me such spiritual depths. Why don't we just do what they do? Why don't we just get a bit of Velvet Underground, a bit of the old Van Morrison, a bit of the old John Cage. We could mix it with a bit of the old Ornette Coleman. Put it all together and make videos. You know, because I forgot it while we were talking about music, you know, so I'd take a little bit of Kenneth Anger, you know, and I might take a bit of the experimental films of, like, the Italian realists. I don't know my film as well. You do know your film, Andy. don't get sidetracked. You're onto something here. Keep going forward. You're going to have something profound. And people have clicked on this. I thought, I was here for just the Rick Beato roast, but actually that was quite interesting. And we will get there. Follow it. So they're bringing in these AI to spot AI, right? So say that does get rid of all the AI, right? But, and this is my worry, what if they use this for an ulterior motive? And I'm much more worried about this than somebody ruining the music business. I'm far more worried about this. I nearly threw up then. I had a little bit of acid coming to me. I need to have something to eat, really. Been doing this for too long this morning. Talk to yourself, Andy. You shouldn't do that on YouTube. You can edit it out. You ain't going to edit this out, though, are you? It's just going to go up raw. That's what I like to see, raw. And why do they like to see raw? Because they know that I'm sat in front of you, and I've got a camera, and I am sat here just giving it you, and I'm a real human being. And anything could happen. I could go off on all sorts of tangents. And maybe I'm going off on tangents more because I want the AI to go, this bloke's all over the place. That can't be AI, right? And so they will leave my channel alone. Because when you read the rules of what is AI and what is not, there's things like, almost like production values. If you've got low production values and repetition and things like this, that they might take that down. And so I could see an argument where they go, well, that Andy Edwards, it's obviously AI. He does the same videos over and over again. How many times has he done the 10 greatest prog albums? He's done it about 4 times now. Keeps doing it over and over again. And what does he say on the videos? Is it the same or different? It's pretty much the same. You sure Andy Edwards is an AI? Yeah, but the thing is, you see, if you think about it, who are our paymasters? You remember that subject we had later? You know, the AI that's checking it, they're not going to dob the AI. They're going to dob the other AI in because that's not their paymasters. Who's their paymasters? Well, who's YouTube paymasters? But I'll tell you who it is. It's people like me. It's people like me making YouTubes that people watch because they can sell advertising. But in the grand scheme of things, I'm right on the ground. I'm on right at the bottom, right? So how do we know that this will not be used to support the great big YouTubers, the corporate YouTubers, not even the Mr. Beasts, but the great big YouTubers that have... This could well be a secret method used by the powers that be to get control of the media so that the mainstream media can move itself over onto YouTube, and all us out of control YouTubers that they don't want saying anything can be sidelined. Now, you can't say that, could be terrible. But what you can have is the mistake of the AI removing you or taking your algorithm away. And they can justify it by saying, well, we have a suspicion they're using AI. Now, I do use AI on my videos. I've stopped doing it, but at one point, some of the background music, the thumbnails, some of the artistic pictures that would come in. Actually, I used to have bits of video. All sorts of things were AI. And can you imagine a situation where people who are lower down the media ladder, they can't afford to film things properly or pay for copyright on music, have been using AI on actually very creative videos and now knocked out? I, as you may have noticed, have recently decided to go back to what I call proper YouTubing, which is where you have a camera, you have a nice background full of detail, you have a light, and you sit and talk to camera. I'm trying to get back to doing that again. So my videos are straight to camera in the hope that when AI scans it, they'll go, well, this bloke's all over the place and he's a real person and he made mistakes and he walked off and he was nearly sick at one point. I noticed that. I mean, but the trouble is that the AI is now going to train itself on me. And before you know it, you'll have an AI Andy Edwards that's coming out here, thrown up in his mouth, going off on tangents, you know, roasting people like Rick Beato, being a bit abstract, being a bit silly, and that becomes the norm. And then I could get taken out for being me. Right? My basic point is I don't trust any of this. Because the thing that Rick Beato does not tell you, right, is the worry for the music industry of AI is not the fact that it can replicate real musicians. That went years ago. It doesn't exist anymore, right? All that's happened now is they've sped up the process, right? Years ago, the music industry moved from the technology of having a band that plays in a room and you record it with a lot of money because it's expensive to do and they create a hit record. That moved to someone in their bedroom with a computer replicating everything with packs that you could just grab. So you didn't have to write chord progressions, drum beats, right? Singers didn't have to sing. You could tune them all in, right? And that's what the general public preferred. And the reason why the general public preferred it is because the technology changed. And this idea that you're at home listening to a record on your big stereo was replaced many years ago by people watching the big film. The big films that people buy into now are progressive rock. They occupy the same space. They're massively long. They usually have fantasy in there. There's a lot of special effects. There's a lot of mythologies going on. You have to follow it. It conceptually follows through. You know, whatever it is that's winning people over, whether it be the Marvel films or Lord of the Rings or zombie films, you know, The Walking Dead. Any of those you look at have all the hallmarks of what progressive rock used to do. Tubular Bells and Dark Side of the Moon occupied a certain space that those films do now. Right, and no one's going to go back and just listen to a 40-minute album with their eyes shut when they can have a film that is doing all that plus more. So pop music had to return back to being pop music, and that was being something catchy that is not so much about enjoyment, but it's about putting something in your head that you sort of get compelled by. That is how pop music works. Pop fans don't really consume music like Pink Floyd fans do. Right, they've got something going on and they want to fill up the void. Now, I fill up the void at home with YouTube videos. I know that a lot of what I do here is it's a familiar voice and I come on and my videos are quite long. There's a certain market. Some people hate the fact that my videos are long, but other people go, well, there's a good hour there of Andy. And he just goes on and on and on. It's quite funny, but I like the way he talks. There's just voices in the background. I'll put it at the back. I don't watch him. I just put him in the background and I go off and do me work and he's in the background. So listen to something, he makes me laugh every now and then and it's off on something else. Don't really listen to me going off in a tangent, but I quite like it, you know. Now, I know that that's a thing because I do that as well. But for younger people, they're not interested in listening to the history of the Spanish Empire when they've got some homework to do, you know, or cleaning up. They just want something that goes in the background, which is very simple, very memey, makes them laugh, and also, most importantly, bonds them together into their social group because teenagers are incredibly communitarian and they really believe as a whole, there's some individuals that aren't like this, but teenagers morally put at the height of their moral view of the world, conformity to the group as being the high moral value, and they utilize music to do that. Now, music has all sorts of different functions. To really understand how music works, I've got serious now. I came on here being silly. I like this video. I've come on, I'll tell you what, at the end, I'm doing something here, which is, I think I'm being very clever here, right? Anyway, let's get back onto that, because I've actually come up with the goods on this one. Music's got all sorts of different functions. When you come out and do a YouTube video like this, you have to be aware that you are just channeling one function. And those people who want to buy an album, because they had the experience of Dark Side of the Moon, they got a great big stereo at home, and they're interested in all the sort of fetishistic aspects of, you know, of being able to pull it out. Oh my God. Pull an album out like this, you know, out of the things, and then they can open it up. And then they can listen to it and hold it in their hand. And that's a thing, that's a certain function that music has. And you can analyze that function and what people are getting from it. And their emotional response might be really high. And their emotional response might be higher than the person who just listens to some pop music on a mobile phone. And you may think that that makes that music better, but it actually doesn't. People will have a huge emotional response to getting on a roller coaster or injecting heroin into what they're on, but it does not mean that that's high art. High art has to do with the function, right? It has to do the function, and then the antithesis of that, which is the sublime, which is the non-function, where it acts in itself. And that's a very hard thing to discuss, right? Rick Beato doesn't take any of that into account here. The fact is that 20th century music and the music industry and the way that extracted a lot of money out of people for something that used to not cost lots of money for people, because they would just sit at home and play folk music around the fire, right, has created a certain function of music, and it fills up the world. You know, you go into a shop and it's in the background in the shop. You go out to the pub, it's in the background of the pub. It's filling up a space as though if there was silence, that silence would somehow, I don't know, I can't keep my eyes open for that long. They started flicking. But that's unnerving, isn't it? Right, the antithesis of the commercial music to most people in the street is John Cage 4 minutes and 33 seconds. But they don't realise why that is a massive antithesis, because the last thing human beings wants to do in Western civilization, where everything's got to be done tomorrow and no one's got any patience, you've got to fill up that void, because if you don't fill up that void and you just let the silence engulf you, what will happen? You become aware of the reality of the situation. Human beings are the only species on Earth that can project into the future to such an advanced extent that we know that our death exists. This is one of the most fundamental aspects of humanity, is death and the ignorance of death. And not the ignorance, the ignorance. I think it's the same word really, but I'm using it in a slightly different thing. Being pretentious, there you are, Andy, but keep doing it because it's sounding good. So the ignoring of death and the realization of death, right? And once you have the realization of death, how can you deal with that? Well, you have to realize that the reality of your death is not a reality, it's a projection. And the fact is, you only ever exist in the moment. And John Cage tries to force you into accepting the moment with 4 minutes and 33 seconds. But pop music doesn't, it fills a void. And it's like a cheap eternal now, which you could turn on at any time. And sit there going, oh yeah, you know, and you can sit there, you know, take or leave it, but you're not ever gonna be respectable. I'm not gonna be respectable. Nah. Nah, I don't want to be respectable. Do you want to be respectable? No, I don't want to be respectable. Nah, it's a cool song, isn't it? I like it, yeah. Because we're not respectable, are we? When we go out, we're not. Nah, we're never respectable when we go out. Nah, we're not, are we? Nah, I ain't ever gonna. That there is just, it's like heroin for the masses. And the idea that a human being needs to come in and do that is nonsense. This is all related to our framework of function that we apply to music. And that is related to money, profits. And the urge for the industry to take out humanity out of the picture, right, is why they're pushing for AI. Many of my musician friends who don't like Oasis have to grudgingly admit that that little speech that Noel Gallagher goes, where they go, the industry never wanted to sign up people like him, you know, people that would take drugs and would not turn up for interviews, people that were chaotic, creative people. They didn't want them there. You know, they wanted someone like Harry Styles that you could just tell to shut up and put on that dress, you know. That is a classic comment of a man that has worked in the industry and knows, right? The powers that be that run the creative industries, right, which is why we're all here, right? It's why Rick Beato's here. It's why I'm here. It's why I'm talking to you. It's why Rick Beato's talking. We're all here because we're pushing a button. We're trying to get attention. And that attention is trying to fundamentally pull into the idea that you can be distracted for an instant. You can fill up the space of your life so you don't have to sit down, have this silence engulf you and the terror of the void enter into you and go, you know, this void that is here right now. This void, listen. Somebody walking around, what are they walking around stomping in the background for, ruining my silence on my video? Twat. Is that nothingness. That's a dim foreshadowing of the eternal nothingness to which you will become. These are the things that drive people. Now, Rick Beato. The problem with Rick Beato is he's a very knowledgeable man. He's a very knowledgeable musician, but musicians have an Achilles heel. Being a musician takes so much practice and so much study of the rules. And what are the rules? The rules are basically AI. If you want to sound like a bebop musician, or you want to sound like Bach, or you want to sound in any shape or form, cliched in any shape or way or form or whatever, right? Then you have to study the rules. And Rick Beato is a guy who studied the rules. He knows how harmony works. He knows how rhythm works. He knows how the history of music works. He knows how recording works. He knows all these things. He's got a great knowledge of these things. And he places worth into that knowledge. But AI can just replicate that so easily. All right? If I play an A minor, right, and I know that there's a G major in the A minor, so I'll go to a G, but just the note G. Then I could descend to an F major 7, and then I could go to an E minor. But that E minor, we will now hint at the harmonic minor by turning that into a major chord, now a dominant chord to take me back to A minor. Now, I can sort of play, because I've studied those rules of harmony, and I can pick up the guitar and I can create music like that, right? But I will never be as good as AI at doing that. I will never have the command of the rules, right? But there's another aspect to music, and this sits in opposition. These two things sit as a dialectic. Is I can place my fingers randomly on the guitar and not know the sound that's going to come out. And I can ask myself, what does that mean? It sounds sort of almost like Japanese, and it sounds creepy and quiet, like a haunted Japanese forest. And then I can say, what's that note there? That's like the high note. And I can make that change. I go, do I like that? Now, this is a completely different way of making music. That's how human beings make music. They have the rules, but they have this thing of going, what does this sound like? The rules are just cliches. Rick Beato, I'm afraid, is an incredible... I love him, and I've been really influenced by him. But Rick Beato places a subjective faith in those rules, and he sees those under threat. He can't step outside it to go, all AI is the rules. AI will be able to do a better solo than Charlie Parker, or it'll be able to do better guitar solos from Joe Pass, because what was astonishing about them is the way that they could instantly compose on the spot because of the rules, but AI can do that now. And so you have to grapple with, why did it matter that Charlie Parker did that? What was the function? You have to go, what was the function? What was the music doing at that time? And you will find that the music has a subjective personal aspect to certain people. That's really, really important. And it has a wide cultural at a certain time, that component. And those two things are related, but they're really hard to put them together. Now, I have faith that music won't go away because music has such a multiplicity of functions that it actually has new functions to play. And I think what we're seeing at the moment is a very big shift within music from it being a consumer art form to a performer art form, the total opposite what everybody thinks. I think music's going to survive because the internet and digital technologies and AI and all those things are going to enable people to actually play. Right? There's an enjoyment to listening to music, but there's a far greater enjoyment to playing music. But the 20th century music business could never capitalize on that beyond having lessons and selling tunes, you know, I mean, music colleges, that's how they did it then. But the music colleges are over. The whole thing's over because it's easier to go online. But, you know, people like my friend Danny Marbin, has got a great YouTube where you can go on there and in 10 minutes he can tell you what would have cost you £250,000 to learn from Berkeley. Same thing with Rick Beato. You can go and learn this stuff. But you have to understand that these guys, they place their faith in that stuff because that's where their living is selling that. My background was fine arts. I was a painter before I became a musician. I tend to err a little bit more on the sort of cultural, political, social, aesthetic, philosophical aspects. And I ask the question, why, rather than how? And that's what I've tried to inject here, okay? Now, what does this mean? It means that AI is going to come along and completely change our world. The fact that it changes music will not be the worry. No one should be worried about that. It's the fact that none of you are going to have any jobs. There's going to be no way of you having capital because there'll be no jobs for you to do. Every single job will be replaced by AI. Once that happens, we have to ask ourselves whether creativity will be valued. Now, creativity is what keeps human beings going, but we have had a blip where creativity was valued. And the way it was valued is because we invented writing. You can see the rise of civilization around about 5000 BC and the sort of acceleration where human beings had really been hunter-gatherers for millennia. And then suddenly a few things happen, something else happens, something else happens, you know, art, language, farming, writing. Writing, suddenly now we can store all this that we know. And once you can store it, and the whole history of humanity has been, how can we store it? And now we have a storage system, which isn't like this that I've got in the background here. It's like a system that's alive and go, well, what do you want to know from this storage? What wisdom do you want? Call on it as you will. I will do your bidding. And you go, yeah, but that's great. But we have a system here where you're supposed to go to work, earn some money, and then you can spend it on things. And that's how we all keep everybody happy. If you don't have that, they're all unhappy and they revolt. You know, and when in there was this thing called art. Well, they can still have art. I'll supply art for you. You can still come home and listen to art. You don't need to do your jobs anymore. Well, what about capital? Well, you know, us sort of globalists have thought it might be best if we just had a sort of communist state, but one you haven't noticed, because it has pretends it'll be capitalist on the top, communist in the middle, but when you get home, you can pretend to be a capitalist. Why? Well, just buy stuff that doesn't exist, virtual stuff, you know. We've got a plan for you, you know. If AI is going to play a very big part of that, is it? What about music? Well, you can have whatever you want, really. I mean, once we get to that point, if you want to exist in a world where, you know, Black Sabbath are still around, you know, you could go, you know, you could just sign up to the 1970s experience. Be brilliant. You could go back there and I identify as a racist. No one's going to have a go at you. You could go around smoking all day long, being sexist, being racist, and listen to all the great bands like Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd. Yeah, but I've heard all those albums. Now they'll be bringing new albums that you don't understand, do you? Once they peg it, you know, they're all selling their catalogues to us. Once we've got that, there'll be another Led Zeppelin coming along. Hundreds of Led Zeppelin albums. Yeah, but they won't play by real people. Yeah, but does it really matter to you? Why does it matter? Well, because I like the thought of it being real people. I know, but really, do you want to sacrifice your own personal happiness? I mean, how about this? We'll have these old fellas on YouTube and they can come on and they can say how bad AI is, and you can watch that and go, yeah, bloody right, that's right, that is. But as we keep going, we got these new rules coming in. So we're going to be able to swap them out. And we'll have some AI ones like that. Well, won't they be real people? Yeah, not really, no. Well, I won't like that either. Yeah, I know, but there'll be a certain point, surely, where you'll just let go of all this. And the New World Order will emerge out of it. We'll all be so much happier. And then us globalists that are behind this AI, we can run things exactly right. But hasn't that always gone really wrong in history? And once you think you know, doesn't it really go wrong in history? Well, I don't think so. Who said that? I don't know. Andy Edwards did. Did he? Yeah, he said it on his YouTube video. He said you've got to have evil, you've got to have bad people, you've got to have chaos, and you've got to have people coming out and arguing against people. And you've got to sort of take all that involved and try and get to the rationally what's the best idea. That's and that science does that for truth. And he said that music and art does that for morals. Oh no, we can't have that. We know what the morals are, you know, we've worked that out. That's quite obvious. Well, not towards Andy, who said it wasn't like that. Well, what did he say about racism? Well, he said some things that some people have thought was racist. He said there wasn't any black music at one point. Well, he's obviously a racist then, isn't he? Yeah, well, what's his name again? Because we'll have a look at it, and we got these new rules coming in on YouTube, and really, you know what it's like when you get a set of rules in? You could use them to get your own ends. We do it all the time, us globalists, and so we might just take him out, shut him up. He won't know. Maybe just curb his videos a little bit. You know. I've made myself depressed now. So, that was the video where I reacted to Rick Beato's recent spate of videos. Now, all I've got to do is go home and come up with a thumbnail. Don't need any editing on this. This is a joy to me. Just stick the video straight up. It looks nice. Hopefully it sounds okay. It's all good. You don't need any visuals. It's just me chatting to you. Proper YouTubing. You know, you live or die by what you've got to say. No editing. No planning. You come on. Proper YouTubing. That's what I do. Proper YouTubing. High stakes. You come on. 3/4 of an hour, you talk, and hopefully you say something that's profound. When people go, that's actually quite interesting, that is. That's high stakes. That's high stakes. Could AI do this? No. Because the thing with AI is AI, AI doesn't not know, and AI doesn't know. That's the thing with AI. And so could AI really open up to the great reservoir that exists in the universe? In other words, this dialectic of which I speak seems to me to point to a great mystical aspect of humanity. And the mystical aspect of humanity is us looking up. It's not seeing the false shadow of the black void. That also exists in that John Cage 4 minutes and 33 seconds. That's there too. It forces you to choose. We get to choose. We can look down at the dog poo on the floor, or we can look up to the stars. And I say, let's look up to the stars. Let's place our faith in the fact that what human beings do when they do create, and they do the one little thing that the AI can't do, is they connect to something greater than themselves. And that might simply be our humanity, or it could be something that our humanity represents that we don't understand. So basically, we don't have to worry about AI as long as we respect our humanity and value it. If you like this video, stick a like on it. If you want to see some more, subscribe. You can become a patron. You can become a member of this channel. You can put some money into my PayPal tip jar. There's a whole bunch of ways of supporting me. There's a whole bunch of links down below. They're not just money-making links. There's all sorts of stuff out there. So if you are a little bit bored and you want to click on one of those links, if you go to my Patreon, you'll be able to sign up as a free member and have a look at the thousands of articles and videos and stuff that's there. And some of it might make you laugh, and some of it's quite silly, and some of it's quite serious. And that's true of my Bandcamp, that's true of my Substack, that's true of all. Even if you become a member here, there are videos here now that you can go and watch that aren't on the main channel. I am done now. We are finished. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And, you know, keep an eye out for some proper YouTubing. Support your proper YouTubers. Rick Beato is a proper YouTuber. He's not AI, so support him. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.